Hey, welcome to Let's Talk Computer Science. I'm your host, Sandy Padala, CEO of Rex Academy. Rex Academy is a one-stop solution for computer science education. Joining me in this week's episode is Miss Elizabeth Taylor. Liz is transforming the world one mind at a time. Taylor is Director of STEM Outreach and K-12 Education Programs at Milwaukee School of Engineering. Her mission is to get more students to pursue careers in STEM. In 2021, Taylor was featured in the Milwaukee Business Journal as a 40 under 40 winner. Congratulations.
Thanks.
She was selected for the award out of hundreds of nominations for her professional achievement and community involvement. Taylor holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Kettering University and is pursuing a master's degree. Miss Elizabeth Taylor, we are so excited to have you on our podcast. Now, let's talk about computer science.
Sounds good.
Wow, I mean, you're pursuing your master's and you're running such an amazing program. That's super impressive.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's an exciting job.
So, tell us more about your background and how did you get to where you are today?
Sure. Well, I would say when I was younger, middle school age, I was very set on being, I think, a lawyer for a little bit, a physical therapist. I wasn't super great at math. It takes me a long time, even today, to just process math. So I didn't see STEM fields as something that were an option for me. And in high school, I had a phenomenal physics teacher that just the hands-on application of physics and understanding how math can solve problems and explain things, paired with a Girl Scout event, made me think differently. I was like, oh, okay, no, this is something I could do. I met girls at that Girl Scout event. So I grew up in rural Wisconsin. So we traveled like an hour to university, met girls in engineering. I'm like, oh, okay. They're like normal people. They're not superhuman, like math wizards. And so I went on to do my bachelor's in mechanical engineering at Kettering University. And I worked in engineering for about 8 years prior to coming to MSOE. As our director of STEM. And I really love my job because I feel like the programs that made me feel confident and consider STEM, even when I've kind of passed those inflection points where a lot of girls especially lose confidence and don't regain it in STEM fields, were so pivotal for me. And I love the opportunity to do that with other students.
Yep. Yeah, that is an amazing story. For the STEM, you chose mechanical engineering. Very STEM.
Yeah. Yeah. I chose mechanical too, because I'm very bad with abstract things like electrical engineering. I have so much admiration for people that do physics and electrical systems and even computer science, because I need to be able to touch and interact with things. So it's really cool too, to see in STEM, a lot of people bridging the gaps between more abstract topics and pairing them with physical devices. Because I feel like as a student, I probably would have considered other fields when I can see what code does or what circuits do in person.
So can you please tell us a lot more about your current work? Walk us through a typical workday.
Yeah. So I'll say there's no typical work days at MSOE, which is part of what I love about the job. Every day is a little different. We're a year-round K-12 outreach facility at the We Energy STEM Center. So when we say K-12, we do mean K through 12. So there's days we're working with kindergartners, teaching artificial intelligence, to seniors in high school doing robotics. So some days I'm teaching and helping lead activities. Another typical thing on a day for me would be meeting with community partners, whether they're corporate partners. We're really blessed to have a lot of corporate engagement and partners who both fund the center, but provide their time and talent to help with our programs. And then oftentimes working with the MSOE community too, helping our faculty, staff, and students get connected with the broader Milwaukee community that's using our space or running programs.
Yep. Cool. So on an like, how many kids do you serve?
Yeah, pre-pandemic, we were about 6,000 students a year. And that was before we had the center, which was great. This year, I think we're at around 4,000, 4,500 to date. So our year is August through July for our programming. It's usually like a summer and an academic year. But the great thing with the center is it's open to the community to use for STEM. So we're trying to figure out how to track what I would call 3,800 interactions. So we have some robotics teams that meet weekly in the facility, and they might have anywhere from 5 students to 20. And then we have other nonprofits and groups that might use the center for an outreach program too. So we're seeing a lot of reach beyond just our in-house MSOE programs.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. So describe all the any like CS program initiatives that have been implemented or currently in works to increase computer science education, and what are your goals in the future for computer science?
Yeah. Yeah. So 2017 is really when we started more expanded STEM outreach at the university. And since then, we've had Girls Who Code clubs in partnership with Girls Who Code, or just coding club sessions that our MSOE students lead that are girl focused. Last year, we had 5 different coding clubs. So anywhere from introductory block-based coding. This year we have a Python course and a JavaScript. So I would say that's the most traditional and pure computer science when people think of CS initiatives. And those run in the evenings after school. We usually do 2 semesters a year. So we'll have students who come in that have no coding experience at all, and they're kind of using our classes in place of computer science classes that might not be available at their school. And then we have others who do have CS programs at their school, but they like coding so much or want to explore more at a university level, and they'll take a different language. Since the center's open, we've had a couple of different opportunities. So in recent years, we've really pushed for more AI activities. So getting students to understand artificial intelligence, but also seeing how code works with those devices, understanding how AI impacts all areas of our life. And then lastly, as we all know, there's a shortage of computer science for a lot of students. So helping give other organizations capacity to run their CS programs. So Building to Learn is a really good example. They have a digital citizenship program that they run out of the STEM Center. We've partnered with other groups in Milwaukee. Northwestern Mutual, for example, we did a cybersecurity event in October of last year to introduce students to cybersecurity. I could go on and on with our partners, and for anyone listening, I did not exclude you on purpose. But it's been cool. Like, we'll have our in-house programs, we'll have orgs that come in and run CS initiatives, and then we'll partner with others, which has given us a lot of opportunities to engage with a lot of different students.
Yep, that is really good. And what are your goals for next couple of years?
Yeah, every year technology changes so fast. So we're always aiming to upgrade our curriculum and upgrade our offerings to make sure they're, one, aligned with what's technologically relevant, but also are unique and go beyond what might be in classrooms. So even for those schools that have CS programs, right now, AI is a really good example of a specific subject area that's really not taught in schools. Like, just getting computer science is amazing, but going the next level to teaching AI can be a burden for some schools. So we've had some schools will bring in our AI programs to them to supplement a computer science class, or it's the starting point for CS interest. So we definitely want to continue building out those topics in CS literacy that the community is asking for. But I think too, just creating more opportunities in general for both students who don't have CS at their school and those that do, to keep exploring. And since we're a university and have a CS program, getting students to also see what's available here in Milwaukee for their education or their careers.
Yep. So, like, unlike this is what you were saying, like, unlike some other subjects, like computer science is ever changing, right? And requires one to keep updated on the latest trends, technologies, and programming languages. Even an existing language still always gets changed, like huge changes happen, like even in Java from 1 to 1.8, like that. You can't even recognize the same language. So, and computer science also encompasses wide range of topics, like as you were referring to, like software, cybersecurity, AI. And on top of this, like many CS instructors who are teaching computer science, they do not have a background in computer science or lack the competence to teach the subject. Even they might, like I am a computer science person, but if you ask me to teach cybersecurity, I have to learn. Uh, right. So in these situations, do you think teachers can benefit from having support from a technical expert, like we are planning to offer this? Just provide technical support for teaching.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think even the most skilled computer science teacher can benefit from a technical expert because I think the thing a technical expert brings to the table is the application of coding. They see how that language or that computer science topic is used in industry. A lot of teachers we've worked with that bridge to be like, you're learning this concept. Here's what this looks like at my job. Here's what this looks like in my career. So I think for any competence level of computer science teacher, having that technical expert's helpful. I think for newer CS teachers that are still getting their bearings, it's really helpful to have someone in the classroom, virtually or in person, who can help answer student questions, especially a lot of CS teachers we've worked with are like, the first year is the hardest. Like I'm maybe 1 or 2 weeks ahead of my students in learning the code. And having someone who can maybe answer questions that are 5 weeks out that a student asks can be super helpful. So I definitely think technical experts are an asset in any classroom. And here in Milwaukee, especially, we see a lot of companies that really want to provide technical experts to schools through different programs as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I really agree with what you've said. Like, even if they're an expert computer science person, like just the nature of like debugging code and all of that, like with 20 students, it's impossible for one teacher to sit and debug code. Either they have to just stall the class and just start sit with the kids and help them think through their debugging process, or just continue on with the class. So yeah, I totally agree. So my next question is, like, finding qualified educators to teach computer science is becoming a challenge for many schools across the country. So do you think schools should consider hiring remote computer science teachers to address this shortage?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the school. I think generally speaking, anything that brings talent to a school and enables them to offer computer science or these subjects that are hard to hire for is an asset. So I grew up in rural Wisconsin, like bringing a CS expert from the community may not be feasible. So a virtual teacher would be a great solution. But I think of a community like Milwaukee where there's so many different community resources that might also help bridge a gap. So using coding clubs as an example, UW Milwaukee, Marquette University, MSOE all have coding club programs. So for a small school that maybe has 10 students that would be interested in CS, there might be more of a benefit to driving students to community programs and resources that still give them those skills along with other opportunities. But I do think virtual teaching brings, especially this past 2 years of everyone learning how to learn in a virtual environment and teach in a virtual environment, has really opened doors for districts that might not otherwise be able to bring a CS teacher in person.
So, I mean, like, so what do you think are ideal solutions for resources that are needed to help improve or increase computer science education in K-12 space?
Yeah, I think what's great is there's a lot of examples of good solutions that are happening, especially in the last few years. Just recently, the state of Wisconsin unveiled a computer science statewide plan, which I think is one of the great solutions, just giving schools a roadmap of what does CS look like in your school? What does it mean to implement CS? Milwaukee Tech Hub did a CS scripts workshop with, I think, it's like 8 or 10 districts that we sat with last year. And that was another really good solution, like sitting down with the school and walking through and saying, what do you have at your school right now that helps set you up for success in CS? What are your barriers? And getting to sit down with other schools and understand what's unique to my district and what is something that others can help me with is a great way for the school side and the administrative side to understand what it means to bring CS into their classroom. But I think for students, the talent gap in getting more teachers into classrooms that have CS, it's something that's solvable, but obviously there's a delay, right? A teacher starting their teaching education right now, a freshman in college, we have 4 years until they're going to be in a classroom. So even with ramping up talent efforts, there's that gap in timing. So I think there's shorter term solutions like bringing students again to coding clubs, not to beat that drum, but there's just so many here in Milwaukee. There's a lot of virtual options like Code Academy that give any student, even if they're on their own at home and have internet access, the ability to learn code. So I think making families and parents aware of what resources are out there for their students, especially if their school or after school programs may not quite have those yet.
Yep. Thank you. So any other final words, any other things that you want to share with our listeners or give advice?
Yeah, I think, in the last 5 or 6 years that I've been working in STEM outreach in the community, CS has come such a long way. I feel like oftentimes it's very disheartening when you listen to statistics, when you hear that there's still such a long way to go. But I hope everyone realizes there's been such phenomenal progress, Milwaukee and nationwide, and getting more students access to CS opportunities. So I think there's a lot of good things to come.
Thank you so much, Liz, for your time today. I truly enjoyed learning about MSOE STEM outreach program that you're doing. Thank you so much for doing that. There's so many kids that are impacted. I know few kids, few girls who go to your girls programs. So thank you so much for doing, and thank you for giving us this time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.